Have you ever stopped to consider how much of your life is dictated by habits? From the moment we wake up to the last thing we do before we sleep, our daily routines are a symphony of habits. These patterns of behavior are like invisible threads, weaving the tapestry of our lives. They shape our health, productivity, happiness, and ultimately our destiny. But what if we could harness the power of habits to work in our favor? What if we could transform these automatic actions into stepping stones towards our goals? This is where the magic happens. Today, we dive into the world of Atomic Habits by James Clear, a world where tiny changes lead to remarkable results. A world where you're not only the conductor, but also the composer of the symphony of your life. 8 lessons from this enlightening read can be your guide to creating, changing, and maintaining habits. So, are you ready to unlock the power of habits and transform your life? Our first lesson revolves around the idea that small changes lead to significant results. This concept, known as marginal gains, is a cornerstone of the philosophy in Atomic Habits. It's the notion that making tiny improvements in any area of your life, when done consistently, can lead to substantial growth over time. When you focus on making 1% improvements each day, the cumulative effect can be astounding. Think of it like a snowball rolling down a hill. It starts small, but as it continues to roll and gather more snow, it becomes larger and larger. That's the power of marginal gains. Each small change you make might not seem like much on its own, but when they're all added together, they can lead to remarkable results. So don't underestimate the power of small changes. They might seem insignificant in the moment, but they are the building blocks of massive transformations. Remember, your success is a product of your daily habits, not a single monumental effort. The second lesson we learn is about the habit loop. This loop is a 4-stage cycle that our brains go through when forming or breaking habits. The first stage is the cue. This is a trigger that sets off the habit. It could be something as simple as a time of day, or something more complex like a certain emotion. Following the cue, we have the craving. This is the desire to perform the habit, driven by the anticipation of the reward. The third stage is the response. This is where we actually perform the habit, whether it's biting our nails or going for a run. Finally, we reach the reward. This is the end goal of every habit. It satisfies the craving and reinforces the habit loop. By understanding this loop, we can consciously control our habits. We can manipulate the cue or alter the reward to either form new habits or break bad ones. Lessons 3 and 4 are about making your habits obvious and attractive. Imagine walking into a room and spotting a guitar in the corner. That's an obvious cue. It's right there, beckoning you to pick it up and play. This is the essence of making a habit obvious. The clearer the cue, the stronger the urge to act. Now, let's add a layer of attractiveness. Suppose that guitar belongs to your favorite musician. Suddenly, it's not just a guitar, it's a symbol of something greater. That's the allure. Making a habit attractive enhances its appeal and increases the likelihood of following through. It's like combining the smell of fresh coffee in the morning with the satisfying taste of your first sip. The aroma lures you in, it's obvious. The taste rewards you, it's attractive. The habit of drinking coffee becomes a delightful ritual, not just a means to an end. If a habit is obvious and attractive, you're more likely to stick to it. Lessons 5 and 6 teach us to make our habits easy and satisfying. Let's dive into the fascinating world of friction and satisfaction. When we talk about making habits easy, we're essentially talking about reducing friction. Picture this. You're at the top of a hill with a boulder. The more friction there is, the harder it is to push that boulder down the hill. Now imagine that hill is buttered up. That boulder would slide down effortlessly, right? That's the power of reducing friction. For instance, if you're trying to make a habit of going to the gym, don't make it a chore. Don't choose a gym that's an hour's drive away. Choose one that's on your way to work or home. Make it as straightforward and frictionless as possible. Now, let's talk about satisfaction. We humans are wired to seek immediate gratification. We want the candy now, not the promise of a healthier body later. This is where making habits satisfying comes into play. The more immediately satisfying a habit is, the more likely we are to repeat it. Let's go back to our gym example. If you dread the idea of working out, try to find ways to make it enjoyable. Maybe it's listening to your favorite podcast while running on the treadmill, or rewarding yourself with a refreshing smoothie after a good workout. The key is to associate the habit with a positive, immediate reward. But here's the kicker. The satisfaction doesn't have to come from the habit itself. It can come from the sense of accomplishment you feel after ticking off a task from your to-do list, or the pride you feel when you see the progress you've made. So, when you're setting up a new habit, ask yourself 2 questions. How can I make this easy? And how can I make this satisfying? By reducing friction and increasing immediate satisfaction, you're setting yourself up for success. Remember, the easier and more satisfying a habit is, the more likely it is to stick. Our final lessons focus on the role of identity in habit formation and the power of habit tracking. In the realm of habit formation, identity plays a pivotal role. It's not just about what you want to do or achieve, it's about who you want to become. Our habits are a mirror reflecting our deepest beliefs about ourselves back to us. If you want to run a marathon, it's not enough to follow a training schedule. You need to start seeing yourself as a runner. When a habit becomes part of your identity, it's no longer something you have to force yourself to do. It's simply what you do because it's who you are. Let's take a moment to think about it. Imagine you're trying to to quit smoking. When offered a cigarette, there's a world of difference between saying, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit," and "No thanks, I'm not a smoker." The first response implies a struggle against your current identity. The second asserts a new identity, one that doesn't include smoking. That's the power of identity-based habits. Now let's move on to the power of habit tracking. Habit tracking is a simple, yet powerful tool that makes your progress tangible. It's a clear, visual evidence of your commitment to change. Each checkmark on your calendar, each tally in your notebook, each entry in your habit tracking app is a small but satisfying reward. It's a testament to your dedication and a reminder of how far you've come. Moreover, habit tracking also helps you to stay honest with yourself. It's easy to lose sight of how often we do or don't do something. By tracking, you have a clear, undeniable record. This record can motivate you when you're feeling uninspired, remind you of your progress when you're feeling stuck, and provide a sense of satisfaction when you see how far you've come. In closing, remember this: your habits shape your identity, and tracking them can make your progress visible and satisfying. So, embrace the identity you want to become, and let habit tracking be your guide on this journey of self-improvement and growth. We've now covered all 8 lessons from Atomic Habits, but how can these truly impact your life? Let's take a moment to reflect. First, we learned that tiny changes can yield remarkable results. It's not about massive, overnight transformations. Instead, it's the small, incremental changes we make each day that compound over time and lead to significant improvements. Then, we delved into the habit loop. This cycle of cue, craving, response, and reward is essentially the engine that drives our behavior. By understanding this loop and strategically manipulating its components, we can make or break any habit. We also discussed the power of making habits obvious and attractive. By making the cues for our desired habits clear and the habits themselves appealing, we increase the likelihood of performing them. Next, we tackled the importance of making habits easy and satisfying. The easier a habit is to perform, the more likely we are to do it. Similarly, the more satisfying a habit is, the more likely we are to repeat it. Finally, we explored the role of identity and the power of habit tracking. By aligning our habits with our desired identity, we can solidify them as part of who we are. And by tracking our habits, we can visualize our progress and stay motivated. These lessons, when applied, have the potential to radically transform our lives. They can help us break free from destructive habits and establish new, beneficial ones. They can help us become the people we aspire to be, achieve our goals, and live more fulfilling lives. Remember, change doesn't happen overnight. It's a gradual process. It's about making a 1% improvement each day. It's about consistency and perseverance. So in conclusion, your life today is essentially the sum of your habits. The way you spend your days is indeed the way you spend your life. Therefore, what habits do you want to form? What small changes can you start making today? Remember, your life today is essentially the sum of your habits. So what habits do you want to form?